and welcome back. Let's get into our Today in History. Today in History, May 19th, 1563. Anne Boleyn, the infamous second wife of King Henry VIII, is executed on charges including adultery, incest, and conspiracy against the king. Alright, so I don't think that you guys know much about King Henry VIII. You'll find out more about him when you get into high school and you do European history, but he was pretty infamous because he had multiple wives, and there were like a lot of scandals involving each of these wives, but Anne Boleyn happens to be one of the more famous of his wives because he has her beheaded. Right? Pretty crazy. Henry VIII is a very interesting historical figure in terms of the way he ruled England, the things that he did, his personal life for sure, all pretty crazy. So, there you go. Alright, let's get into our work for today. Alright, so yesterday you guys learned all about how the United States was dealing with the Cold War on the home front. How is it impacting the lives of Americans on a day-to-day basis? And you learned a little bit about how people were prepping for nuclear fallout. You learned a little bit about what were known as duck and cover drills, right? That how they were taught to children in schools and how they were often practiced, similar to the way you guys practiced lockdown drills or fire drills in terms of that prep and what the children were taught and how it was taught to them. And then you were taught about bomb shelters and how people started to worry about the threat of nuclear war, and in order to best protect themselves and their families, how they started to build these bomb shelters in their basements or backyards. Right? And then you guys got to watch that little video about Bert the Turtle. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It is by far one of my favorite videos that we will show all year. I just think it's really interesting. And while, yes, they are definitely using the video in order to be informative and teach the kids something that they viewed as practical and necessary, they did so in a very smart way, right? They used a cartoon, a fun, cute little jingle in order to help the kids remember. I know normally when I show that video in class, I have kids singing the duck and cover jingle for weeks after that, so sorry if it's stuck in your head right now. Okay, moving forward in terms of how things are going on the home front. All right, one of the biggest parts of the Cold War is going to be the threat of Soviet spies. Right? We've seen a little bit about the United States and spies when we did World War II, except we were dealing with Japanese spies. We're going to see that kind of alarmist nature come up again during the Cold War, in that there is this insane fear that there are Soviet spies literally everywhere. One of the great things about the United States is that you have freedom to express interest in different things, and you can believe in different types of political parties. But what we're going to be seeing is during this time period, there's going to be groups that are deemed to be like Soviet sympathizers or communist sympathizers, where some of the things that they're talking about in these organizations lend themselves to align the members with communism. And the United States is going to be very fearful of that, right? And that falls in line with, one, that rivalry that we have with the Soviet Union, and two, with that idea of containment, right? We want to try and stop the spread of communism, so when we start to have these organizations pop up that have communist ideals linked to them, the United States government is going to be very aware of that and very wary of that. And what we end up finding is that the U.S. has Soviet spies living in the United States. So one of the most famous cases was a couple known as Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. So here you're going to see how did the government respond to Soviet spies in the United States, and then you're going to read all about Ethel and Julius. You're going to get a little bit of background information about them. Right? Nothing too crazy. This is them here, right? Pretty average married couple. You're going to read a little bit about the spy ring that they organized, and then you're going to read about the trial and figure out what exactly happened. And then you have this graphic organizer that goes along with it, where you're again asked specific questions, keeping in line with that trend. I think you guys seem to like this better than the summaries, and I'm going to be honest, I like it better too. All right, so that is that. You're going to run through this. Just pretty straightforward questions about them, nothing too crazy, and the people that were involved in their spying. Are Ethel and Julius Rosenberg the only spies that we're going to find in the United States? No, absolutely not. There were Soviet spies. It's just, I think at any given time, we're unaware of the fact that there are most likely spies from other nations that are present in the U.S. And it's just during this time that the United States becomes very aware of that, and they are targeted, right? And this is going to play into some hysteria that comes about during the Cold War time period that we will actually talk about tomorrow. So it'll link in pretty well. All right, nothing too crazy. That's about everything, right? I will continue to post in these like Google Slides. So what I'm going to do is each new one will be like the newest one up top here, and then you can always tell them apart, because down here in like the notes section I left what the name of the lesson is. So just the newest one will always be on top, but then I'll leave these here so you can find the old ones as well, right? And then of course the aim will always change at the top here, so you can also identify like that. Okay, I think that's everything. We do have office hours today from 1 to 2, so make sure if you have any questions that you swing on by. But other than that, I think that should be everything. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and of course, as always, stay safe and make good choices. Bye, guys.